99X. It's Barnes and Leslie. We are your Morning X. Leslie, how often do we have smart people on the show?
We always need to because we need people smarter than we are.
Well, that's not hard.
But love having smart people on the show.
Yeah, we have a quota to have as many smart people as a certain amount every month to keep a balance from, all the knuckleheads, which, we've got plenty of those that are just on the show. So I want to introduce you to Peggy Yin. Peggy is a senior at Harvard studying computational neuroscience and also art history, and she's deep in the AI scene. Hey, Peggy, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good. You've got such a long list of accomplishments. We could probably just do a segment on that. But congratulations on all that you've got going on. It's pretty impressive.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So we want to talk about your project called Future You, which I think people would like to hear about, and maybe they might sometime be able to participate in it. And just to sum it up, this is a piece of AI that's going to help you, the person, in the future, because you'll be able to kind of get a taste of the future you. Did I even summarize it even remotely close?
Yeah, so Future You is a way for people to talk to AI-generated versions of their future self.
And so how do you even start to do that?
Yeah, so we actually try grounding everything about this project in the theoretical and empirical evidence that has been developed by psychology over the years on how people actually begin to think about their future self. And so we know that thinking about the future is really hard for people and often really stressful, but the positive effects of connecting with the future are vast. So the more strong of an emotional connection you have with your future self, the more likely you are to make better long-term health decisions or financial decisions or even academic decisions. And so this all influences your well-being. And so we take those studies and we basically created a user flow and experience that collects the right amount of information about your demographic data, your dreams, how you go about thinking about your dreams, where you want each thing to occur in your life. And then we're able to generate a narrative from your present self to your future so that this AI chatbot can sort of retrospectively tell you a story of your life from the perspective of when you're 60.
Oh my gosh.
Let me ask you this though, how much information, let's say I was going to do it or Barnes was going to do it, how much information do you need about me or Barnes before you can even start having this conversation with your future self?
Yeah, great question. Right now, we use something called the life story interview. So this is an interview that collects autobiographical information on the memories that mean a lot to you. And we ask for one memory in every category. So what is something you're proud of? Or what is a high point? What is a low point? What is a turning point? And then these answers can also be as long or as short as the users want. Generally, we ask users to be as descriptive as possible, just so the future self has a lot to pull from. But we've also seen users do one-word answers for each category, and it's also been able to generate good content for them.
That's surprising. We're talking with Peggy Yin from Harvard, who's working on a project called Future You. And Peggy, so you get the interview with the person, the live interview or whatever, you feed all this data into AI. I'm assuming you make a chatbot assistant that's all, trained on all of that information. Then you're filtering in psychology stuff from the past. Help me back right there. So then all of that merges together, and then you can actually talk to the chatbot. What kind of things would you ask the chatbot about yourself to make a better future you?
Yeah. So even coming up with a question could be hard because this is such a new experience.
Right.
So what we do is we try to establish a sense of similarity between the user's present self and their future self. So we'll have the future self open the chat by saying things like, when I was your age, this was what I was up to. And this is what that thing actually became through time. Or when I was your age, I felt this way. But this is how that emotion sort of was metabolized through time. We also have the chatbot just give examples of what's going on in their life now that they're 60 or kind of what went on in their life up to that point. So the user has some footholds that they can sort of grab onto and then explore further. So if they want to know more about the career point that their future self began with, they can say, can you tell me a little bit more about that? They could also just ask about things like, will I regret anything? It's a very open-ended conversation. And sometimes users have chosen, not to necessarily interact with it in a question and answer sort of way, just maybe making commentary like, okay, great. And the future self is able to also guide the user by asking them follow-up questions.
Well, I just ran everything to this point that you've told me through my chatbot, and you know what it told me?
What did it tell you?
The future you is going to make a lot of money. That's it just came back to me right now.
Good for you, Barnes. Yeah.
No, not me. She's going to make a lot of money.
Yes, Peggy, you're going to make a lot of money. Now, Peggy, question for you. Are you hopeful that this will help people with a lot of, life situations, mental health issues, anxiety, depression?
Yeah, so this is a technology that gave me a lot of hope, mainly because we were able to run a randomized control trial where we brought in 344 people between the ages of 18 and 30. And we had them try this chatbot for an average of 30 minutes. And compared to people who were just chatting with a regular chatbot or just thinking about their futures or by filling out the initial survey, people who did this experience of future you actually showed an immediate reduction in their feelings of anxiety after the experience, and also a strengthened emotional connection with their future. And so if you think about that time, a brief 30-minute single session could help people feel a little bit less anxious about the future, and a little bit more connected to it. I think this shows the promise of such technologies in helping people come up with a more positive version of their lives and their paths. To your second point about dealing with different life situations, I would just like to go back to AI being sort of coming from biased data sets, right? And so what you put in is going to be what you get out. And so we need to make sure that the training data sets that we have for these AI foundational models have a lot of life experiences within them, so that when people are facing those life situations, the foundational model can also supplement the user supplied information with more knowledge of its own.
Man, it's so interesting, Peggy. Will this be a product possibly soon? How do you determine whether this will go out to the mainstream or not?
That's also a great question, because we're currently running red teaming efforts. So that's when you try to get people to break the system. Recently, there have been a lot of reports on AI being misinformative or AI influencing people in ways that are not necessarily positive, right? So we want to make sure that this intervention is tightly constrained so that it's helping people think realistically and also imaginatively and also optimistically about their futures, but not doing something where it might persuade them to think more negatively or feel worse about their futures. So there's a lot of guardrails that we want to put in before potentially turning this totally public.
Yeah.
But right now, we're really seeing an application in the educational settings. So thinking about how to work with institutions or nonprofit organizations that are geared towards youth to address these sort of exigent reports about a lot of rising youth anxieties when young people think about the future.
It's so cool. Thanks for sharing all this with us. We'll keep an eye out for it because I think it's a really cool thing you've got going on. Peggy Yen from Harvard, thank you very much.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you.
Peggy's future is bright. Yes.
Yes, it is. Have a great day, Peggy.
You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye. All right, she's gone now, and I didn't want to say this when she was on here, but can I just read you a few of her things that she has going on? It's unbelievable. I didn't want to embarrass her. She's a researcher at the MIT Media Lab and UCLA Anderson School of Management. She's an artist. She has performed solo at Carnegie Hall. She's had artwork commissioned for the MIT Museum and Harvard Yard. She's featured in all of these Harvard publications. The Technology Innovation Department at Harvard Business School. I mean, what?
I feel like a loser.
Total
Thank you for
loser. That's some cool AI coming. This is the original. It is 99X.